Have you ever noticed that, like, when you're trying to speak English, um, sometimes it feels like your brain has to kind of translate everything first?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You think of what you want to say in your native language, then you're, like, scrambling for the English words, and by the time you actually, like, get it out, it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it's like a huge bottleneck for so many English learners.
It is, and it can be really frustrating. So that's exactly what we're diving deep into today. Like, how can you actually train your brain to think directly in English?
And we've got some really great insights from this easy English talk video on YouTube that we're going to be breaking down.
Exactly. We're going to get into all of that. But even beyond just speaking faster, I feel like thinking in English just has this ripple effect on all your language skills.
Oh, absolutely. It changes everything.
It does. So let's just start right there. Why is it so important to be able to think in English?
Okay, so the biggest thing is that you're cutting out that middleman, the translation process. If you're always translating, it's going to slow you down. It's like there's this mental stutter that makes it harder to speak fluently.
It's like you're trying to have a conversation while, like, solving a puzzle in your head at the same time.
Totally.
And sometimes those direct translations, they can lead to some pretty awkward phrasing. Like, the video gave this example of saying, I am cold versus I have cold.
Right. Which is a really common mistake.
Yeah, like it doesn't sound natural.
It doesn't at all. And that's why thinking in English is so important, It helps you to structure your sentences the way that a native speaker would without even having to think about it too much.
And when you don't have to, like, second guess every word or worry about translating, it must do wonders for your confidence too.
Oh, for sure. When you can think directly in English, words come to you much faster and your responses are just going to be so much smoother and more spontaneous. You're not pausing all the time to translate, and that's a huge confidence booster.
I bet. What about listening? Does thinking in English help with that as well?
100%. If you're used to processing your thoughts in English, you're going to be much faster at understanding spoken English too. So conversations, movies, music, everything's going to be easier to follow because you're not mentally translating every single phrase back to your native language. Your brain's already in English mode.
That's like having your brain tuned into the right frequency, like you're on the English channel. And the video even talked about how it can improve your pronunciation. How does that work?
Basically, when you're thinking in English, your brain is constantly practicing the sounds, the rhythms, the intonation, all those little nuances that native speakers use. And that mental practice really does translate into clearer and more natural pronunciation when you actually speak. You're internalizing the sounds of the language much more effectively.
So it's like you're giving your brain a constant English lesson, even when you're not actively studying. Okay, so we've seen how beneficial thinking in English can be. Faster speaking, more confidence, better listening, improved pronunciation. It's like leveling up your entire English game. But I'm curious, what are some of the things that hold people back from making this switch? What are the common mistakes that keep us stuck in translation mode?
Right, so the video outlines 4 main pitfalls that a lot of English learners fall into. And the first one is the biggest culprit, relying too much on translation.
It makes sense though, right? Like, it's our natural instinct to go back and forth between languages.
It is, but if that's the only way you're interacting with English, your brain never really gets a chance to build those direct connections for thinking in English. It becomes dependent on that translation crutch.
Like those training wheels on a bike. They're helpful at first, but eventually you got to take them off if you want to ride on your own.
Exactly. And the second mistake is getting too hung up on perfect grammar. People spend so much time trying to construct grammatically perfect sentences in their heads that it actually blocks the natural flow of thought.
Yeah, it's like overthinking every step you take when you're walking.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get anywhere very smoothly.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, native English speakers don't even think about every single grammar rule when they're talking, and they make mistakes all the time. The most important thing is to be able to communicate effectively.
So don't let the pursuit of perfection get in the way of actually speaking and thinking in English.
Exactly. And number 3, this is a big one, the fear of making mistakes. So many learners are terrified of saying something wrong that they avoid speaking or even thinking in English altogether.
Yeah, it's like they're stuck in this loop.
Yeah.
They need to practice to get better, but they're too scared to practice because they might make mistakes.
Exactly. It's a catch-22. But the truth is, making mistakes is completely normal, and it's a crucial part of the learning process. Fluency comes from practice, not perfection.
So embrace those mistakes.
Yeah.
They're just stepping stones on your path to fluency. All right, what's the 4th mistake?
Simply not immersing yourself enough in English. If you're spending most of your day surrounded by your native language, it's going to be really tough for your brain to switch to English mode.
It's like you're trying to learn to swim by reading a book about swimming. You got to get in the water.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to actively seek out opportunities to listen to English music, watch English videos, read English books and articles, create that immersive environment for yourself.
So to recap the 4 big mistakes that are holding you back from thinking in English: relying too much on translation, overthinking grammar, being afraid of making mistakes, and not getting enough English immersion. So now that we know what to avoid, let's get into the good stuff. How can we actually start training our brains to think directly in English? What are the steps we can take?
So the video lays out 6 key strategies, and honestly, they're all really practical things you can start doing right away. The first one is super simple, but surprisingly effective. Start naming the objects around you in English.
Oh, I love this one. It's so easy to do. You're just looking around your room, your office, wherever you are, and instead of thinking the word for table or chair in your native language, you consciously think of it in English.
And to take it a step further, you can even start describing actions related to those objects. So instead of just thinking cup, you could think, I am drinking from my cup, or I'm putting my cup on the table.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you're building up these little English sentences in your mind. What's step number 2?
This one might sound a little strange at first, but talk to yourself in English.
I can see some people being a little hesitant about that.
I know, but the beauty of it is that no one else has to hear you. You can do it silently in your head or even out loud when you're alone. Just narrate your everyday activities in simple English, like, I'm making breakfast, now I'm putting on my shoes, okay, I'm leaving the house. It's a great way to practice forming sentences without any pressure.
So you're getting comfortable with thinking and speaking in English on your own terms. Okay, what's the third strategy?
Start using an English-to-English dictionary. This one might seem small, but it makes a huge difference.
Because when you're using a bilingual dictionary, you're always going back to your native language for the meaning.
Right. With an English-to-English dictionary, you're forcing your brain to stay in English mode. So if you look up the word excited, for example, you might see a definition like feeling very happy and eager, and now you're connecting those English concepts directly without having to translate.
That's really smart. It's like building a web of English meanings in your mind. All right, what's next?
The fourth strategy is to start by thinking in simple sentences. Don't overwhelm yourself trying to come up with these long, complex sentences right away.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. Like instead of thinking, I need to go to supermarket this evening because I'm out of milk, just think, I need milk. Start with the basics and then build from there.
Okay, makes sense. What's number 5?
This one is all about developing your inner voice in English. So instead of having your thoughts, your internal monologues in your native language, try to shift them to English.
So it's like you have this little English speaker in your head narrating your life.
Exactly. When you're planning your day or thinking about what to eat or just reacting to something you see, try to do it all in English. Even ask yourself simple questions like, what am I going to wear today? Or what do I feel like eating?
That's a cool way to keep your brain engaged in English throughout the day. And lastly, number 6.
This one we've touched on already, but it's so important. Surround yourself with English. The more you listen to English podcasts and music, watch English movies and TV shows, read English books and articles, the more your brain is going to absorb the language and start thinking in it naturally.
It's like creating this English bubble around yourself.
Yeah.
All right, so to quickly recap the 6 key strategies: name things in English, talk to yourself in English, use an English-to-English dictionary, start with simple sentences, cultivate your English inner voice, and surround yourself with English. These are all really great tips.
They are, and the best part is that you can start implementing them right now, regardless of your current level. And to make it even easier to incorporate these strategies into your daily life, the video also suggests some specific exercises.
Perfect. I was just going to ask about that. What kind of exercises are we talking about?
So the first one is to start and end your day with English thoughts. When you wake up in the morning before you even get out of bed, take a few minutes to think about your day in English. What do I have to do today? What am I looking forward to? And then do the same thing before you go to sleep. Just review your day in English.
That's a nice way to bookend your day with English, like a little mental ritual. What else?
The next exercise is to set a no translation rule for yourself for at least 30 minutes every day. During that time, you're only allowed to think in English. No matter what you're doing, no translating allowed.
That sounds challenging, but effective.
It is. It's going to be tough at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then another exercise is to talk to yourself out loud in English for a few minutes each day.
We talked about talking to yourself earlier, but this time it's out loud. Why is that important?
Because speaking out loud activates different parts of your brain and strengthens the connection between your thoughts and your spoken English. You can describe what you're doing, what you're seeing, anything really. Just get those English words flowing.
So it's like taking your internal English monologue and making it external. Okay, what's another exercise we can try?
Try to use English during those everyday activities when your mind might normally wander, like when you're cooking or driving or just waiting in line. Instead of letting your thoughts drift into your native language, make a conscious effort to think in English. Okay, I'm waiting for the bus. I wonder when it will arrive. It's a beautiful day today. Simple things like that.
It's about being mindful of your thoughts and consciously directing them towards English.
Exactly. And the last exercise is to keep a simple English journal. Write down your thoughts, your feelings, your plans for the day, anything that comes to mind. Don't worry too much about grammar or fancy vocabulary. Just focus on expressing yourself in English.
It's like a safe space to practice your English thinking and writing without any judgment. So to sum up those daily exercises, start and end your day with English thoughts. Set a no translation time. Talk to yourself out loud in English. Think in English during everyday activities. And keep an English journal. These all sound really helpful. But I imagine there are still some challenges that come up when you're trying to make this shift to thinking in English. What are some of the hurdles that people might face?
So one common challenge is that our brains are just so used to thinking in our native language first. It's like an automatic reflex.
Yeah, it can be hard to break that habit. What can we do about it?
Well, the key is to be patient with yourself and start small. Don't expect to be thinking in perfectly formed English sentences right away. Just focus on individual words or short phrases at first, and keep using that English to English dictionary to reinforce those direct connections in your brain.
Don't try to run before you can walk. Okay, what's another common challenge?
Feeling stuck because you don't have a big enough English vocabulary. It's frustrating when you want to express a thought, but you just don't know the right word.
I know that feeling. What do you do in those situations?
Well, instead of giving up and resorting to translation, try to describe the word you're looking for using simpler English words that you do know. Like, if you can't remember the word refrigerator, you could say the cold box where I keep my food. It might not be perfect, but it keeps you thinking in English. And you might even figure out the right word eventually.
That's a great tip. It's like a workaround for your vocabulary gaps. What's one last challenge that learners might encounter?
Sometimes people get discouraged because they feel like they're not making any progress. Learning to think in English takes time and effort, and it's easy to lose motivation if you don't see results quickly.
So how can we stay motivated and on track when those feelings of doubt creep in?
It's really important to track your progress. That's why keeping an English journal is so helpful. You can look back and see how far you've come. You can also record yourself speaking English every now and then, or even just talk to yourself in the mirror. The key is to notice those small improvements and celebrate them. And remember that consistency is key. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
So to overcome those challenges, remember to be patient. Start small. Describe unknown words in English and track your progress to stay motivated.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a race.
Well said. So to our listeners out there, I challenge you to pick just one of these strategies and try it out today. Maybe start naming things around you in English, or try that no translation rule for just 15 minutes. I guarantee that even that small step can make a huge difference in your relationship with English.
And remember, every time you choose to think in English, you're taking a step towards fluency.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep practicing and keep thinking in English.